Hello and welcome to the Kelcast, the Hearthstone Arena podcast, where we try to get better without cursing. I'm Keladar, a longtime Infinite Leaderboard arena player and streamer on Twitch. Joining me this time is not Kellenable, who is not with us today, but we have Judge Veritas as part of our segment, the Arena Roundtable. If you guys want to find our podcast, you can search it on any podcast medium by searching the Kelcast. You can also find me on social media by searching Keladar, K-E-L-U-D-A-R on Twitch, YouTube, or Twitter. So this week, last week we talked about kind of like how to experiment in a meta, and I thought it was a really cool episode. We kind of talked about how to break down a meta and like how a top player does that. We might even kind of bring that topic up a little bit again, since we haven't really got to talk to you guys. But we're just going to talk about the meta and what we're thinking. There's lots of changes, as we all know. So I guess I'll just kind of throw it to Judge. What is your like takes from the like new arena with all the changes? Like what do you feel about it so far?
So, as you know, I came about a week and a little bit late to the meta to get my first glimpse. I've played about a week now, and it's definitely a meta I am enjoying more than the end of the previous one. Last meta, the last like 2 weeks or so was kind of like the most tedious, like I can't wait until the meta changes kind of meta for me that I've ever really experienced as a streamer. And I've been refreshed. I mean, there's a lot of, there's a few tweaks that I'm sure will be made. It's, we haven't had any adjustments since the meta started, and there will be adjustments. I'm enjoying it. I think that, outside of Druid, I've had every other class actually provide some viable decks.
Yeah.
Which is nice. Not just, obviously Demon Hunter is insane right now. That will be fixed. Outside of Demon Hunter at the top end and Druid, I've kind of been enjoying a large variety of different classes to be able to play. I thought I was going to get devastated by watch posts from what I heard when I came back. Yeah. I have not been devastated by watch posts at all. Maybe I'm just lucky. I've seen some watch posts. I've gotten beaten by some watch posts, but it hasn't been like a meta defining, like every day I'm fearful of it. So that's nice. And, there's some issues, there's like, the new Scorpid is a little too common. Demon Hunter is a little overtuned. But outside of that, Ysera is too rarely. But if they go and just tweak those a little bit, I think we have a really solid tempo-based meta on our hands.
Yeah. One of the things I noticed immediately within like, 3 or 4 days after when you have the HS replay stats kind of settle was if you look, now obviously Demon Hunter and Druid are outliers, but if you look at the other 8 classes, they were within like 4%, 3.5% of each other, which I think, like I said, outside of those outliers, kind of like you were referring to, like the meta is fairly well balanced for a new meta. Like, there's always, everyone complains, like there's always going to be one class that kind of like shoots up because of a certain card or whatever they did. I think that my personal opinion is they were trying to make up for the fact that Demon Hunter didn't have as many class cards, and they over tweaked it when they did the patch before. You saw Demon Hunter spike before the card release. I think they kind of were anticipating the class cards would be too low compared to other classes, and I think they just kind of overdid it, but I don't really know for sure. But
I think Demon Hunter is the easiest class to either overtune or undertune, right? Like the class cards, some of their class cards are just so unbelievably powerful that if they appear too often, it's going to be number 1. And then if you take those away, they have nothing left. So they're going to be number 10. Yeah. So it's like, finding a balance with Demon Hunter is difficult. They pulled it off. 2 metas ago in last meta, Demon Hunter was chilling in the middle for a little bit. So it's possible to get it balanced.
I think
so hopefully they hit it.
Yeah. The core set changes they made to Demon Hunter they definitely took away some of the more crazy ones. Not that there's obviously not coil fangs and other things lying around. So what is Veritas? I know you said you haven't played all the classes yet, but what's your take been on how the meta feels so far?
I'm gonna echo what Judge said. I feel like it's a lot better than the previous meta. I took like a full month off at the end of the previous meta, and it wasn't really painful. It wasn't really because it was just because I didn't have any desire to play. It wasn't fun, so I just stopped playing. And then now this has been a welcome change. I'm also feeling the same way about the watch post. We've talked about it a little bit briefly in Judge's chat, but I'm one of the people who wishes that they weren't getting removed from the arena.
Yeah,
I like the fact that they were in there and kind of provided a little bit of flavor and changed things up. I do think that they needed to be nerfed. I think they needed to have the reduced offering rate for sure, because they are a problem when you get hit with them a lot. But I did like the idea of having a card come down on 2 that changes the whole dynamic of the game, because now your cards are more expensive. Or I liked that a lot. But I feel like it's just good that they shifted it back towards tempo mattering and kind of reduced the offering rate of the massive swing card spells, which I don't know, that just wasn't fun for me in the last meta, where it felt like your incremental advantage that you were building meant absolutely nothing because you were going to get punished almost every time.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Like, I've had trouble understanding why I'm enjoying things more, but I will say last meta, it felt like, to me, like every game was like, no matter how much stuff you played, nothing was safe. Like, you could play a taunt with 10 health, 12 health. It didn't matter. Like, everything was removed each turn. And it just felt like nothing you played really mattered except who had the final hit of the final swing. And that to me just wasn't really fun. And like, I still feel like the power level is really high, but I'm just enjoying it more. Like, even Ysera, as strong as it is, doesn't even bother me when I lose to it, because the games feel like they're actually getting somewhere. Like, I know that I had a chance to kill him before the Ysera happened.
I was going to say, at least it's 9 mana, right? At least it's 9 mana. Like, games can end before it can come down.
Exactly. And like, I don't know, like it feels like the boards matter. Like, you're still, I feel like there's boards. So like, you're actually fighting back and forth on some awkward trays and trying to just make those decisions. And do I go face? And then the last meta, it just didn't really feel like it mattered that much, as much as it does now. So for me, like, normally a meta with this high power spikes and this high quality of decks, like, I would normally say, usually I don't enjoy those metas as much, but I've had fun. Like, the new cards, the buffs they made to some of the core set cards, like everything, I like all the changes. I'm kind of interesting with Veritas says about the watch post. Like, and just for anyone listening, there's no actual confirmation that watch posts are actually leaving Arena 100% from Blizzard. But Zeddy said it on his thing that he has a source on the inside and said that like the 2 and 3 mana watch posts are getting nerfed down a health, and they're also leaving Arena. And frankly, if Zeddy's actually saying it, knowing him, like, I don't doubt that he has some kind of concrete person. So I'm pretty certain that that's happening. I kind of am on like I'm kind of in between that talk about with watch posts, because for me, like I said this, I kind of make the comparison to Flappy Bird, though I will admit watch post is way stronger in general. But you know, like I didn't mind Flappy Bird because I just drafted every 3 mana taunt like Tar Creepers, and I did things to balance it. And I think you can actually do that with. I try to take a lot of 1 mana cards like Mistress of Mixtures, and I try to like make sure that I'm not like being greedy with how I'm doing my mulligans, like, and so I will admit though, I don't love the fact that like I'm having to draft and push so hard just to play around that one card. So I'm kind of like in the middle. Like I don't think I mind it as much. And I think if it did get knocked back where it wasn't seen as much, maybe I wouldn't care as much, but I haven't really lost to it much. Like I've beaten it. I have a clip where a guy played a watch post on 1, a watch post on 2, a watch post on 3. I won the game, so it's possible, So yeah, I think everyone's kind of been saying they like the way the meta feels, and I think I think we're kind of in a good place going forward. And I said I think on Tuesday, whenever they do this patch, I'm assuming there's going to be a micro adjustment along with the changes. I think that's probably what's going to happen, though I can't really say for certain. And if it does,
that's my guess too. I'm guessing it'll be a micro.
Just based on I'm going off with a rhythm of what I've seen them do in the past. And whenever they make a big change like this in the arena where they ban a card or something, a lot of times they'll throw a micro adjustment in with it. So yeah, I think we're I'm happy. Like I tell everybody every time I play, I'm playing a priest and I draw my Proto-Drake or I draw my Colossus, I don't clench anymore. And I'm like sitting there going, oh God, because even though it's like 3 turns from when you draw it, you just know it's coming. And it makes the game feel terrible because you feel like...
Yeah, you're sitting there thinking about it for like 4 turns. You're sitting there on turn 6, you have your Proto-Drake and you're like, well, I can't play this. Do I have to play this? Do I have to try? I don't think I can, for 4 turns before you have to make the call. Yeah. Right? That's true.
So
it's interesting too. I'm gonna just build off what you were saying, Kellydar, because I was talking with Overexposed in her channel about this a little bit, and she's actually kind of stopped playing Arena because of the watch posts.
I got you.
And we were talking about like how you can play around them by drafting your deck around it, and she basically said, "Yeah, but I don't want to build my entire deck around beating a single card." So that's not fun for me, and I'm just not going to play anymore. So if people have like that mentality and that attitude, then it makes sense for Blizzard to remove the card from Arena. Even though I don't agree with that, like I think I get where they're coming from if they do choose to remove it.
Yeah, that's my, like, I'm always one of those people, I try to see both sides of the fight, and the same thing I said about Flappy Bird. Like, I wasn't happy. I mean, if anyone really knows, the real reason Flappy Bird got removed was Hafu complained directly to Blizzard, and they just took it out immediately. But like, we
don't have it. Who's our Hafu now? Right?
I don't know.
Who's our Hafu now?
I mean, I'm trying
Papa
to build
Dreads?
some. I wish it was me, but I don't have that kind of platform. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like I said, I don't like if it wasn't a card that was so early on. But the problem is, like, the card wouldn't work if it wasn't. So it is kind of it is what it is. I think in general it'll make more. If it's going to make, like Veritas said, more people will be interested in playing. I do enjoy the challenge of trying to beat it. Like I said, after, I will tell you this, that game where I had watch post, afterwards, that was a big high for me. I'm like, okay, I did it. I beat the insurmountable dragon, like I did it. So like there was a good feeling with that, but yeah, it is what it is. So like I said, moving on to like classes and stuff, like what are you guys enjoying playing? Are there any things that surprises you with classes? I mean, I was pretty sure Druid was going to suck, and it does. Is there anything you guys are finding you're enjoying? Just talk about anything with classes that you're, what's going on with that. Anyone?
Okay, sure. I'm in an interesting place right now as far as classes go, because it seems no matter what class I pick, if I do it in North America, I have a hard time, and if I do it in EU, it goes 12. No matter what I pick, I just don't. It's perplexing. I don't understand. Like what classes? Warlock has been fairly consistently good for me.
Yeah.
Hunter has been fairly consistently good for me. As far as the others, I've had some pretty big high rolls and low rolls, and that includes Demon Hunter. I drafted one of the worst decks I had all meta, a Demon Hunter, the other day. Had a couple broken ones, but I think the consistently good classes for me have been Warlock and Hunter. And that's all that's been consistent. I've had just good decks and bad decks and everything else, except Druid, which has been only terrible.
Yeah, that's been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
What do you think, Veritas? What classes have you been playing?
So I've been exclusively playing like the classes that I still wins for 1,000 win portraits. So I've been playing Shaman, Hunter, Warlock, and then Demon Hunter, which I hadn't found yet until today. Warlock seems to me to be even stronger than Demon Hunter if you know how to play it and draft it well. But again, I don't have the experience with the Demon Hunter yet. Shaman actually, I think, is very underrated right now. I think it has the best tools to deal with the strong early game cards that are floating around. And I've mentioned it in a couple channels already. I think like Storm Strike, the ability to just remove a watch post on 3/4/3 mana is super underrated. And then, I mean, we all know Storm Strike's a good card even if you're not removing a watch post. So Shaman, I think I'm pushing 9 average with that over 3 runs, and Warlock I'm exactly 9 average over 4 runs, and they're both very, very strong and consistent from what I've seen so far.
That's pretty interesting. Are your Warlocks more like, are you finding that you're able to go like Zeus faster and go slower, or is it like one style over another that's working better?
Kind of more like the old Shady like bell curve that he used to draft all the time, where he would draft like heavy on the turn, like 1, 2, 3, a couple 4s, couple 5s, and then stack late game. I've kind of been doing that a little bit, but AoE I find is super free grabbing all the AoE.
Yeah. I've been my favorite class to play, which is kind of interesting, is it's although I like Warrior, I wouldn't necessarily say it's like my best class or whatever, but I have been having all of my Warrior decks have just been so much fun. I'm getting a lot of the Frenzy cards, and like even like Gruntled Patron, which you wouldn't think would be a card you'd even want to draft like in that class. I've been making it like summon like 2 or 3 pretty easily. I've been kind of pushing like having lots of pings and frenzies and stuff, and I don't know, I've just been having fun with that class, and it seems to kind of fit the style of the meta so far. It's been going pretty well for me. But yeah, I think I think there's just a lot of fun. I mean, a lot of the classes are good enough that you can make them work. I've been having fun with Mage. Just like the different cards and different, ways you can do that. Shaman, you can do some Murloc stuff. There's some really interesting cards that I didn't anticipate being so good. So I'm curious if you guys have any like cards that surprised you. One of mine is that oh god, I didn't write it down. It's Lushwater. I forget what the name, but it's the 2-mana
Murloc.
the one that buffs
Mercenary.
as a +1/+1. What is it?
Mercenary, but like
Yeah.
Murloc.
I can't believe how easy that card's been to trigger because there's like Hogsteed and like there's so many cards that I'm already drafting, Fishy Flyer, blah blah blah. And so like I've been like taking that card kind of as a semi premium, not like insane, but I've been taking it pretty often, and it's been I take pretty much every oh god. Wait, what is that called? The Crab Rider. I've been taking the Crab Rider so
Crab
much.
Rider.
So I just been like a lot of those cards I've been just drafting. So that's been a card that surprised me. Everyone seems like real crazy on Peon, and I haven't. It's okay, but I don't see it triggering like a ton. So like I see some people like I'll see people having like 5 of them in their deck, and I'm like, I think people are over. Like I don't think obviously it's better than like a River Croc, but I just don't think it's quite as crazy as people are saying. So
I think it depends what class you find it in, because if you get a Peon in like Demon Hunter or Priest, then even the like small chance you get a spell from it is huge, because the spells in those classes are so broken
busted.
that if you get you just roll into a Soul Mirror or into a Cycle, and it's like, okay, I won because of this small effect, so like worth the risk on those, but maybe like not taking it over something premium or anything, right.
So let's think. What other cards have I one thing about Priest that's been interesting to me is that it feels like I've kind of honed in on a strategy with Priest. It's all about whatever way you can to get Draconic Studies. That's how you get the deep 9+, 10+ win Priest decks. Like the Priest decks that I have, they're just kind of like decent card quality and not really much else. Because we don't have mind control and all that stuff anymore, like it doesn't always work. But if you get Draconic Studies, like I'll draft, like I had one that had what's the 2/2 that summons the 1-mana spell or whatever? What's that? The
Wand Maker?
Yeah. I had a Priest deck with like 4 Wand Makers in it. And it was gross. It kept giving me Draconic Studies, and I'm like, I already had 1 or 2 in the deck, but pretty much any of my decks that have like 2 Draconic Studies in it and Priest are going deep, and the ones that don't have a way to access those cards don't really do so well as much. So it's been kind of interesting.
I think that extends more to just Priest even. I've been like any card that can get a dragon in whatever way has been really good. I've been taking every single evil Cable Rat I can get. It can give you a Draconic Lackey, which then can give you a Ysera. So it's worth going for. I've been taking every one of those. Even in like in Warrior, I'm looking at Wand Makers as like, hey, that can give me improved morale, which can give me Draconic Lackey, which can give me Ysera. So maybe that wins me the game on the spot. And if you get enough of those, eventually one of them wins the game on the spot. That's finding Yseras can definitely be a instant win, right?
Yeah, it's because the lackeys are back. It's like, the Warlocks, when they get their 2 lackeys from their 2-mana card, like there's just so many ways to get them now. And it's only one of the 3 sets that had lackeys that are in, but I guess Rise of Shadows was kind of the biggest lackey set out of all of them. It's just they added all the other lackeys down the line. The Draconic one being the one that's the most tilting right now, I think. I used to think the spell one was so annoying, and now I don't even like. I see someone play the spell one, I'm like, okay.
Oh, thank goodness they didn't get
not
dragons.
The Draconic one, thank God. Like holy shit. I don't know. I've been really having fun. What were we going to say?
A lot of the cards that kind of surprised me were in Warlock, actually. That Enslaved Fell Lord card, I looked at it and I thought, like, that's going to be around the same power level as a Vanguard, maybe like a little bit better, but not too much, because it's very unlikely that you're going to get a huge amount of value at it.
Yeah.
No, it's really, really strong. Like, it makes opponents' plays so awkward almost every time it comes down. I think it's way better than I expected.
Yeah,
and then the other one was Grimoire of Sacrifice. Like, I knew that card was going to be good, but my goodness, is it good to be able to 1 mana deal 2 damage to the enemy board.
Yeah,
and there's like not a 2-sided AoE, right? Like, we're used to the Warlock.
Yes, we're used to School Spirits.
it's the first one where like you have to sacrifice something off your board, but you're just dealing 2 damage to their board. It's so good.
Yeah, someone in chat Ish said about the core set, some of the core set changes. Like a lot of the cards being gone have just really, it's really changed like where certain cards like fit in the meta and stuff. And you know, with Warlock, like some of those cards, like for instance that Felguard card, like I was anticipating when I was evaluating cards based on what sets were coming in that there would be just as many elephants, just as many claw machines, just as many ways to just kind of throw a taunt like that to the side. But the meta's not been what I expected, and things are actually, they don't always stick. But like in the last meta, they never stuck. They never stayed on the board ever. And now
last meta, I wouldn't even draft Bone Chewer Vanguard. I did not want a Bone Chewer Vanguard. It's just too slow for the last meta. Now I think it would do absolutely fine. As Isherwood pointed out in chat, there's no polymorphs. It's just Shaman with the hard removal really right now. And so you can play these high health taunts and usually be okay, which is probably what's making that, what is it? Enslaved card? Fell Lord. Maybe more viable than anyone thought, is because it's tough to remove. It's a lot tougher.
And the thing is, like, the only real neutral big removal that's floating around other than the elephant is Burly. And the fact that the Fell Lord has 10 health, like there were so many times in my runs where I would drop it on turn 8 and then I would know that my opponent could have a Burly, but that wasn't enough. And like it would happen sometimes. The Burly would come down and it would be so awkward for them as they're leaving a 4/10 up on my board that can cleave. And it was way better than I was expecting every time.
I feel like it's also it's just harder to find late game right now. No, I feel like it's been it just seems like late game is just simply not offered as much as it was last meta in the drafts.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. So finding those dig days is actually a little bit rare too. And they still don't remove the 10 health.
Yeah, which definitely is a good little segue into a tip for a draft, which is when you see your chonkers out there, chat, make sure you want to pick them up. Sometimes you might actually pick them up over like kind of turning down a better card. Like I know in last meta, like I would probably take Claw Machine over Proto Drake a lot more. And now I feel like stuff like that, I might actually want the Proto Drake in some situations. Like it's changed the way I look at late game a little bit. I'm curious, like the other thing I'm noticing, which is that like when you get to the point where, if you get to the point where both players are kind of stabilized and they're kind of, I don't know, down to 2 or 3 cards each or something, and you're kind of getting to that like grindy end game. Before I noticed that like everybody would just refill cards and they'd be back up to 8 cards again. Like I'm noticing that like the games are actually, that's why those big cards like that, where you're talking about the Warlock Cleave card, like it's actually sticking because they just don't have the regeneration that they did. Do you guys find that? That's what I'm seeing at least.
100%.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
why Warlock I think is doing so well, because you can still tap and refill, whereas the cards, it's a lot harder to do that infinite value generation that we were doing in the last couple metas.
Yeah. I've noticed it was like never did I feel like I was in a place where I could be like, oh, I will just run them out of steam. I will just play for the board and run them out of steam. That was rarely a thing I said in the last meta. And now it's been many games where it's like, okay, they've got 3 cards, I've got 6. Let's just control this board until they're out of stuff. I mean, there's a few exceptions. Mage has a ton of regeneration. Yeah. Scorpid being common can sometimes sway a game, but it's a lot less than it was as far as how many cards just refill your hand. And I think like it seemed like last meta, again, with the late game being so relevant in the drafts, that like it was even more difficult to run out of steam, even if you didn't have regeneration. It just seems decks are in general lighter right now with a little bit less refueling. So it really propels a really big tempo game rather than a value game.
For sure.
So one other topic I would like to bring up that I thought it was something I brought up last time with Kellen, which is, so when I looked at this set and I looked at the frenzy mechanic, I have to say something like, I guess I can say I was a little bit wrong about it. Like, for one thing, I think the way the meta has ended up being, which I wasn't thinking it would be like this, has affected this. But one thing that I think that's really interesting is that frenzy is a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. Like, I looked at frenzy and I'm like, okay, like, it's sure another mechanic. Like I didn't really like get excited about it, But as I've gotten to play with the, the 6 mana 4/8, the Brave card, and got to play with the 5 mana 5/6 one, all these cards, I'm really not knowing the names today. Some reason I don't know. Maybe it's my beer.
I never know the names. It's all,
But anyway, like
I got it.
I've really found that the frenzy mechanic is fun. Like the fact that it is awkward for my opponent because it can trigger on their turn, and they might have to try to figure out how to kill it. It's just been a lot more interesting than I thought it was going to be, because I guess if you think about it, it's a much more board-centric mechanic than a lot of other mechanics have been, which makes it kind of fun for Arena. So I think it's actually been a kind of a win for Arena. What do you guys think about Frenzy?
Yeah, it's I agree that it seems very good for Arena, and I don't know, I haven't played a lot of Constructed since it came out, but I don't think that a 5 mana 5/6 with Frenzy deal 5 damage to something is really going to be that relevant in Constructed ever, right?
Yeah.
But it's a really crazy effect for Arena. Like someone played it against me today, and I'm sitting there like, I could play, this 4/5. I've got my Amalgam here, but that's just a free fireball they're going to cast to my face. Do I want that to happen? Do I want it to hit a minion? Like it's a really simple element, but a very important one to think about, right? Where does this frenzy affect? What do I want it to affect on the board? If I choose the wrong thing in Arena, that can cost you the game if you take that extra fireball to the face, or if you lose the board because you made the wrong trade into the 5/6, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really simplistic yet kind of really good Arena mechanic. I think I've been liking it. I think the 5/6 is the one I go to because I think it's pretty common and is like directly a tempo card that can change the game with its frenzy effect for tempo.
Yeah,
but I've been liking it. Yeah.
That and Sunwell Initiate, right?
Yeah, Sunwell Initiate's a bit.
I said that card was a 4.5, and Kellen thought I put it too high, but I stand behind that rating. It's been so awkward and annoying, that card.
It reminds me of like what the card is a Scarlet Crusader with an extra Divine Shield. That's what it seems like. It seems like Scarlet Crusader double Divine Shield, which is like great. And if it's not, it's because you're coining a fish and there goes the coin. Like it costs you resources to stop that from happening.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a really good card.
It reminds me of the Goody 2 shields almost, but it's neutral. Like Holst was talking about this. He was saying that like if the watch posts weren't as broken at the very beginning of the meta, we would all have been raging about the Sunwell Initiate instead.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the way that he put it. It's so true. Like,
you're gonna rage. Whatever is like the worst card for Arena. Like I put worst in quotations, right? And not necessarily bad. We're gonna complain about something, right? It's just watch posts overrode it. Yeah.
on that on the watch post, that nobody was saying anything, but man, that card can steal games. Okay, so we go back to the original question, because I like what Judge was saying, and kind of building off that. I really like that Frenzy requires either the opponent to have something to trigger it, which is not very, or you actually have the opportunity to interact with it. And last meta, we had to deal with Spell Burst, which felt very uninteractive and very unfun, because your opponent would just play the card and Spell Burst it on the same turn, and you never had a chance to do anything about it. And so many of the Spell Bursts that were coming down were just busted. And you felt like you never had a chance to do anything. Whereas this, even if the Frenzy card comes down and I don't have a way to deal with it, I could have a way to deal with it, right? There's a chance that I could have, and that feels better to me losing to that than it does losing to somebody dropping I'm gonna blank on the name, the Mage 3/4 Spell Burst and just blowing up my board.
Yeah, Firebrand.
Firebrand. Like, just not fun stuff like that, right?
Yeah. The Sunwell is interesting because I say that it's like basically a better Goody 2 shields, except that you don't need to trigger it with the spell. Like it kind of does what Goody 2 shields does by itself almost, unless they have 4 damage. But other than that, I just think it's a great card. Like I've had to triple trade into that thing, and it's like not fun. Like it's not fun at all.
I think most of the time you have to triple trade. It's not often you have that 4 damage just chilling when it's turn 3, right?
Sure.
It's just it's just like maybe you get a fishy flyer on it, and even if you do, you're spending 4 mana to your opponent's 3 and coming out even on the board. Sure, you get an extra fish, but it's not a good tempo play for you, right? So it's really tough to handle that card.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, for me, like I feel like there's no actual super clean way to deal with it on curve. So the only way you can really handle it is by drafting more pings and accepting that they're going to get the divine shield if it comes down on 3 a lot of the time.
And apparently I hear rumors that the card can't be silenced. Yeah, there's a bug right now.
What?
The card cannot be silenced, apparently.
The divine shield, can't be removed from it with silence, apparently.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I mean, frenzy too strong.
Can you silence the frenzy, but you just can't? You know what I mean? Like if you silence,
I think you can silence the friend. I'm not sure.
Oh,
I don't know that at all.
Can I just say this is totally random, but this is by far the worst patch they've ever done. And I said this before as a joke, but like I've never seen a patch they released where like a day or two before they were going to release the patch, they were like, hey, here's these like 20 bugs that are coming with this patch and we know about it. They knew it was going to be bad. Like they just couldn't do anything about it.
I mean, you can't just delay. Like, what's worse, releasing it on time with bugs, or saying, "Hey, we're gonna just wait a week"? Probably for most people, they would be more furious with not getting the expansion. So they got to release it.
I get
it's just very curious as to how, like I don't know enough about software to say how are there this many bugs? How many people are on the team working on this? I don't know. It's interesting, but hopefully they get them all fixed.
For me, like, They released the expansion last year, I believe, at the start of April. And then for whatever reason this year, they decided to do it like a week and a half earlier. Yeah. And they should have just taken that extra week and got all the
right
beforehand.
I thought so. When I had my hiatus, when I was off to Alaska getting married, I tried to plan. We planned out the date for a lot of reasons, and I was thinking, this was good timing. It'll be at the very end of the meta. They'll be at the very end of the meta where people are getting tired of it. I'll come back for the for the expansion release, and then they're like, it's going to be March 30th. I was like, well, okay, all right. I mean, that's on me for assuming it would be the same time.
Yeah.
Well, obviously some things are just more important. But congratulations, by the way. Just gotta say.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I'm not losing any sleep over missing the expansion release while I was getting married.
That is the correct answer.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I know you mean it. I'm just teasing. But anyway, no, I think this has been a cool talk. We've kind of talked about different classes. I think we're still refining some strategies. This is kind of the week now where I think we start to take what we've learned so far and start to refine it even further. Which, might get shook up a little bit with watch posts being gone potentially. I'm pretty sure, like I said, they're going to be gone. And also with, I'm assuming a micro adjustment, which again, I don't know for sure, but it seems like there might be a micro. And I think my opinion is if this expansion gets a micro adjustment, I think we're going to have a really fun meta. I really do. I'm actually, it's like I said, it's crazy, but even with all these crazy dragons, I thought I was going to get so triggered by this stuff. But because the games feel like they actually matter and I'm getting to an end game, like I feel like the game's not just over. I mean, it just does feel that way a little bit with Ysera, but like at the same time, like I said, there is gameplay before that. It's not over before she comes down. So yeah, I think we're in a good place with Arena. I think the changes have been good. The core set changes have been good. We like the mechanics. I think the rank cards are fun. Like I've just been having a good time. So I think that's gonna do it for our podcast today. I just want to thank Judge and Veritas for coming on. Make sure if you guys have not followed Judge, which I'm sure you have, just make sure you follow all his social media, Twitter and Twitch and all that stuff. When do you stream, Judge?
I stream, when do I stream? Tuesdays to Saturdays from noon till 6-ish usually. A little bit of leeway on some of those. Sometimes we go a little later, do some extra stuff, but that's the general gist. And
we'd love Veritas to stream. He doesn't yet, but maybe someday. You never know. So.
Yeah, you can catch Veritas on my channel a lot of Saturday nights, decent amount of Saturday nights, and you'll be able to catch him hopefully a few more times on Keladar's channel. In inclusion to today after the podcast. Yeah, right.
We're hoping. I'm kind of hoping that maybe make this a monthly occurrence. We're going to be doing a late night co-op tonight, and we're just going to kind of just have fun, play some classes, hang out. It'll be a little bit nutty. There's a guy named Juke that used to do this, and I kind of want to follow in the footsteps. It's just something for the community. So hopefully you guys will enjoy it, and if it's successful, we'll just kind of keep doing it. All right, so that's going to do it for the 11th episode of the Kelcast. Remember, you guys can join us every Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch, or you can download the podcast wherever you get them every Monday. You can also find me on Twitch, where I stream daily at 7 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Saturday, or you can search me on YouTube and Twitter at Keludar, that's Keludar. So you can make sure you tune in next week. I'll be flat and honest with you guys. I have no idea what we're talking about yet, but we'll figure something out. So to be announced. And also thanks to John Locks for the music, for the intro and the outro. I've been really enjoying that. You can find links to our contributors in the show notes. This has been the Kelcast. I'll see you guys next week.